In episode number 425 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we cover Regal's theater closures.
Very much related to that, we also have the recent movie delays and what this means for superhero movies next year and 2022.
And our comic book highlight this week, as chosen by you, we have Sonic the Hedgehog Bad Guys #1.
All of this and so much more on today's show.
Hello and welcome to the award-winning The Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and so much more. I am your Emperor, Kelli.
And I am Athlete Daniel.
Ooh.
The biggest lie I've ever told myself.
Used to play basketball in high school. Some dodgeball.
Yes, some dodgeball and used to. Those are all key words.
1 point. Would you say that I'm a runner? Would you still classify me as a runner?
No.
Son of a bitch. I was feeling good about myself.
The most athlete I get is
running from wasps.
Running from wasps. Yeah, that gets my adrenaline up.
You were playing noodle sword fights with Leo today.
That's true. I do run around and chase him around the house. So I am dad athlete, Daniel, which is still a lesser form of athlete.
You're a dathlete.
There you go, dathlete. For those of you new to the show, the way we format it is first we go through some news. We head into our Patreon shoutouts, which are our thank yous to those of you who make the show possible. We go into our comic book highlight as voted on by you. And we finish it off with the Brocat block, which is what Kelli and I have been doing this week.
Our first bit of news is pretty unfortunate, though. After news came that Bond 25 would be delayed until April 2021, Regal Theaters announced that they would be closing down all 536 U.S. locations.
It seemed like they were waiting to see if maybe that one was still coming out. Regal is the second largest film exhibitor behind AMC Theaters, so that is a lot of theaters out there going down and going black. As of right now, they're closing out.
Well, this is rough, too, because it puts roughly 40,000 employees back on furlough.
And this is during a time when the bonus checks are already finished, right? The 600 or whatever. So it's basically going to your state's unemployment and waiting to see if maybe they do another stimulus check, but who knows if or when that's going to happen. Either way, that's 40,000 people that are now in a rough spot. A lot of furloughs happening. We see it locally here with Walt Disney World, in which they are now laying off a ton of employees. With them, their paychecks are going to be ending in December, from what I understand.
Yes, something. And I haven't read all the fine print. I don't know if they're just stopping paying their insurance in December, because that's all they were doing right now. But yeah, potentially the state funded. But I also saw an article and I didn't click on it, so I apologize if I'm ignorant and I don't know what's going on. But they said at this point in some states, the unemployment checks are going to be like $5 a week.
How's that? Because of the funding?
I guess. I don't know.
That sounds like clickbait.
Again, didn't click on it. But it popped up on my Samsung News, so I was like, interesting.
On to what's going on with Regal, though. We do have a quote here from Mookie Greidinger, who is the CEO of Cineworld, who said, quote, "This is not a decision we made lightly, and we did everything in our power to support a safe and sustainable reopening in the U.S. He also noted that the chain's safety precautions for staff and moviegoers were a huge reason as to why they ended up closing. I don't know if I completely buy that. I think if Bond 25 had not been delayed, we would not be seeing Regal closures, and that tells me also that the quote-unquote safety of the staff and moviegoers is not really, it's money. It's all money. It's motivated by money, and that's fine.
Well, this kind of feels like they were waiting for a reason to close back up again. And, probably a lot of it is they didn't have people who really came out to the theaters. I mean, we've been one since it reopened, right? And I get that there's not a lot coming out right now. We don't really have opportunity. Maybe if we didn't have a kid, it would be different for us. We'd be going to see something just to see it. But it was almost like they were just kind of waiting and then told their staff like, oh, this didn't come out, so we have to now.
One of the cool things I've been seeing with the smaller theater chains, some of the local ones here, is they'll rent you out a whole hall. You can bring in your Blu-ray or your
Stop,
DVD.
that's so cool.
And for $100, you and 19 other people can have that theater for yourself. So
why haven't we done this?
I've been thinking about that. We've been thinking about that at the store. We're just trying to find a way to tie it into like a why to it, or a reason to do it, or maybe tie it into a product or a movie that's coming out.
You're kidding? I could see Pirates of the Caribbean on the big screen again. Like,
absolutely.
Fuck yeah.
Bring in the DVD, though, the one you own, so it's in that quality.
Why does it have to be DVD? Why can't I make it my Blu-ray?
Because nostalgia. That's why. Greidinger did take this opportunity to express his frustration that locations were not allowed to open in the state of New York. So even after places started to reopen, they weren't allowed to in New York, yet indoor places like bowling alleys and casinos were allowed to operate. So he's seeing that there's a huge, like, if they're allowed to open, how come we weren't able to? And that's a huge chunk of change, especially in that state.
Yeah, I get that, but that's also one state. Like, that's my pushback is, yes, is it fair? No, there's a lot of things going on that maybe aren't fair or aren't equal across the board, but that's one state. Like, you have a whole bunch of others, and okay, again, a very profitable state. I don't disagree with that. There's a lot of people that they're missing out on in that location, but that's one place.
I do applaud him, though, for bringing that issue up, because that still should be examined, especially if they decide to reopen next year and someplace and we're not fully reopened by then you need to start bringing this stuff up now of how come they're allowed to operate a casino in which you're very much in close proximity with everyone, and I'm sure they have their own safety protocols as far as the slot machines, what you're touching, everything like that. But I believe that if you're going to catch COVID, you have a higher chance of catching it at a casino or at a bowling alley than you would in a movie theater.
It's because in the casino, they're trying to get rid of the sinners.
What?
Gambling all their money.
COVID's religious now.
Apparently.
While the company does call the closures temporary, it did not name a date for possible resumption of business. I know a lot of people were running with this headline saying that Regal's going out of business. They're permanently closing all of this. No, it is a temporary closure, and I do expect them to reopen next year.
Wonder Woman 1984 director Patty Jenkins said in an interview with Reuters and kind of expressed her concerns with this. She said, quote, "If we shut this down, this will not be a reversible process. We could lose movie theater going forever. It could be the kind of thing that happened to the music industry, where you could crumble the entire industry by making it something that can't be profitable." End quote.
She also followed that up on Twitter by saying that they are not planning at all to bring Wonder Woman 1984 to digital distribution. There was an article that came out on all kinds of non-reliable things, like We Got This Covered, of they're going to bring this to Blu-ray now that the Regal theaters are closing and there's all these delays, but they still want to bring out Wonder Woman this year. And Patty said, no, there are zero talks happening right now of bringing Wonder Woman as a digital distribution. And I think it's more likely that instead of having Wonder Woman come out this year for Christmas, which right now is still the plan, I think we'll see it delayed till next year before we ever get that digital distribution. Whether or not you think it should be on HBO Max for following that very expensive Disney Plus model of $30, or on Vudu or on Hulu, I think that their aim right now and their goal is to really get this into theaters, whether it's this year or next. Digital distribution is not on the forefront for Wonder Woman, or I think for any of the movies that Warner Brothers has in the next year or two.
I think, too, the music industry is very different. So she's talking about how movies and music are so similar, and of course, with music, everything went digital, right? And so you don't have as many CD sales. Some people still purchase CDs, right? Some people are still paying the same amount that they would for these songs through iTunes. Some people are crazy like me, and I sometimes purchase the iTunes one and says, you know what, I want to contribute with a CD as well, and then I buy it there. And, you know, I just see them as very different markets. I mean, concerts still sell out, right? There's still ways that the music industry is making money. I really fully believe that theaters will reopen. Again, people really want that experience. And nobody liked to flip through 47 pages of CDs trying to find Britney Spears back in the 90s.
Hand-labeled CDs
Yes.
with Sharpies, colored Sharpies and labels.
Spending all that time to like make the perfect mix for your crush so they knew exactly how you felt about them. Nobody misses that.
I remember putting those sticker labels on them, and over time they'd get warped and they'd wreck your fucking players. That shit would ruin players, especially car ones where it is not like a Walkman where you can just close the thing and it's going to spin. It's not going to ruin your player. But if you put it in a car, that constant scraping of that label, I remember it ruined one of the players in one of my, I think it was the Mitsubishi Lancer at that time. And that CD was just stuck there forever. In its sticky mess.
Yep.
So that brought me back right there.
But
Thank you, Patty.
Like nobody misses that, right? So I don't know. You can tell me if you think I'm wrong. I just feel like they're very different.
I agree with Patty in that I want to see this in theaters. I don't want to pay $30. And we've talked about that before. And I think the comparison to the music industry, I don't know enough about it to speak about it, but I understand what she's saying of we don't want to get rid of that. We don't know what's going to happen with concerts now, if those are going to be a thing. I think they will be because some are still holding concerts regardless of what's going on.
My Maroon 5 concert has been rescheduled, so it better happen.
There you go. But to anyone worried, and if you live in an area that doesn't have a Regal at all and this doesn't affect you, Deadline is reporting that Cinemark, which is the third biggest theatrical chain in the U.S., and that's the one that we primarily go to, and AMC, who is the number one biggest theatrical chain, have pledged to stay open for now.
We have a quote here from a Cinemark rep who says, quote, "We do not currently have plans to close our U.S. theaters and are continuing to align with demand, including reducing operating hours and days while we await new studio content to encourage theatrical moviegoing," end quote.
From what I understand, some of these theaters, yes, they're breaking even, but they're choosing to still remain open. And if anything, to keep that idea alive of this business is still here, it's still available. These things are not going to fade away. And I think that's a huge thing for consumers. If they see, oh, they're still open, that keeps them at the forefront. But if they close out for months on end, that does a huge thing for people where they suddenly decide, let them close, let them go. And I'm already seeing some of those comments on Twitter. And someone like me who enjoys the theaters, I'm glad I'm seeing that Cinemark and AMC are still staying open. They're taking the proper precautions. And we haven't seen, at least they haven't reported any kind of major outbreak of employees catching COVID at these theaters. Because if they did, you fucking hear about it. But you're not seeing that. So obviously that's not being a massive contributor to the pandemic. So I think it's safe for AMC and Cinemark to decide to go this route.
Now, I'm still on this renting a theater thing, right? For 19 of your friends. Are you allowed to bring in your own food?
No, but they greatly reduce the prices of you can get large popcorn for $5 instead of 10, 12, which I'm happy with.
Yeah.
I'm happy to support the theater, but yeah, they have greatly reduced prices and candy and soda, all of that.
All right. Because, listen, if I could bring in my own food, I'd be all about it. Be like, find 19 friends, about $5 a piece. Have a party there, a socially distanced party. But I'm about this. I really want to do this. Can that be our next date night?
We can try it, sure.
Can we go spend too much money?
We got to find 18 friends.
All right. All right. Well, there's 2 of us, so 17 friends.
Well, it's 20 people.
Oh.
You and 19 friends, so 20 people
total.
total.
$5 a person. Shit. I'd pay $5 to watch Pirates of the Caribbean. I paid $10 to watch Pirates of the Caribbean in theaters again.
I had started to think about, I was thinking mainly about the store and what comic movie we would play or what nerdy movie, but even me, I'm starting to think of what would I want to see on the big screen again?
Hell yeah.
And what Blu-ray would I take with me? And it's basically I was thinking American Psycho, I'm thinking The Fountain, I'm thinking all kinds of my all-time favorite movies. So that might be something we should look into do it, because honestly, 100, like you said, and you split the cost among several people, it's really not bad, and you get to choose the movie too.
Even if it's just 10 of you, that's $10 a person. For me personally, I feel it's worth it, and then you're helping support the theater as well.
When we were talking about Wonder Woman and how Warner Brothers is pushing all of these things, we had covered that Dune, I think last week or the week before, had pushed to the December slot, which was within 1984. You had said that there are different crowds. They're not going to push Wonder Woman 1984. It's not the same thing. I was on the argument of it's still a tentpole film that Warner Brothers does not want to compete with itself regardless. Well, they have pushed Dune all the way back to October 2021. So it was reversed. Wonder Woman got pushed to Dune slot. Now Dune got pushed to October 2021, almost a full year after, which is now within the Batman's release slot. So we know what's going to happen to the Batman, and we're finding out here.
The Batman got moved to March 2022. So then The Flash got moved to November 2022, which means Shazam 2 got pushed to June 2023. And then Black Adam got moved to who knows when.
Someone on Twitter said the perfect thing. DC fandom, they should just replay this year's for next year. It's just a rerun.
Yep.
And like slightly change, do like a terrible Photoshop job and change the dates. Do a terrible ADR of, we can't wait for you to see Wonder Woman in December. Completely different voices.
Right.
All of that. All of this is pushed. But some people are also saying that, assuming that all of this happens and we don't get these pushed even further, the amount of delays that have been happening from both sides, Disney and AT&T, have now packed these 2 years with a lot of superhero movies.
Right.
So they're saying that ironically, as much as superhero movies have, you could argue killed cinema. I don't think it has. You can dig deep enough and find those independent films that are awesome and great and high quality, but some people say that the superhero movie killed cinema. So now they're saying that ironically it's going to save theaters by having all of these blockbusters in there. And if that happens, great. I do hope that a lot of people come back out and support theaters when that time comes next year.
I definitely think it will happen. I mean, we'll be there for the majority of these DC movies that are coming out, these Warner Brother movies. So, and I'm still hoping that the Snyder Cut ends up on the big screen.
Yes.
Oh, if they're still doing that, that's the movie. You should buy it on Blu-ray and watch. You know how many people would do that? Fuck, so many people.
They'd make us rent it twice, though, because it's 4 hours of Snyder Cut. They'd be like, you need to rent it twice, 200.
And you would do it.
Oh, absolutely.
You could find 20 people, easy peasy.
They'd be like 200, and we'd say, no, we'll do 400, and half of it's going to AFSP. It's all going to be perfect. It's going to be great.
I'm ready for this now. You're ready for this. Let's do it.
As we all know, there are more superheroes than just DC or Marvel. There's the whole world of independent comics and Aftershock Comics, which have also been great at championing returnability for comic books, which really helps out the local comic book stores, and they're still doing returnability on their number ones. They have merged with a TV and film company to now form Aftershock Media.
Rive Gouch, I just learned, is a company name. I don't know, surprise. Has been around since 1994 and are best known for distributing Caesar Milan and Homicide Hunter.
Homicide Hunter.
Ooh.
Homicide.
It's almost like your, what was that word that you mispronounced like 4 times?
Contracting.
There you
Contracting.
go. Contracting.
That's yours. Homicide Hunter. Aftershocks have recently garnered deals for Undone by Blood and the Kaiju Score. I saw Undone by Blood go up to like $39.
Wow.
I immediately repriced it before a speculator came, and now the speculator's like, I don't want to pay what it's actually worth. I want to flip
surprise.
it. So good on Aftershock, though. Good on them for actually getting stuff done. And I hope that this distribution company is one of higher quality and that they can get this content out there to more viewers.
I'm interested in this Kaiju Score. Is that just Kaiju playing basketball and scoring some points?
I'm going to assume so because I haven't read it.
Perfect.
So, yes, it is basketball Kaiju. It reminds me of that Shaq commercial where he's fighting Godzilla. I think that was a comic book, actually.
What?
Yeah, you got to look that up. It's Shaquille O'Neal versus Godzilla.
Oh, my God. Who won?
Probably Shaq.
Does Godzilla know how to play basketball?
He does in this comic book. I don't know. It's your favorite monster. You tell me if he knows fucking how to play basketball. Mothra probably does.
Why are you always bringing Mothra into everything?
She cheers him on
I'm
the
surprised
sidelines.
you're not like King Kong knows and he would win. That's the only way King Kong would beat Godzilla is if they were playing basketball.
And in a fight.
And
we're going to find out next year.
No.
Yeah,
not
you just what? I can't wait till this movie. Ooh, I can't wait for this movie to come out.
So you
Y'all
can see
have not
Godzilla
seen
win?
the leaks.
So you can see Godzilla
You guys
win?
have not seen the leaks.
I feel in my soul what's going to happen. Are you doubting
cannot
me?
wait
Are you doubting me?
movie.
Do you remember the very last scene of the first King Kong? What happened? After the credits was the last noise we heard in that whole movie.
So what are you saying is going to happen in Godzilla versus Kong?
Godzilla's going to win.
Who? Against Mecha Ghidorah?
Everyone. And he's going to win my heart. Which is the most powerful of all.
Here's some news that's going off of Marvel. We don't always have Marvel news, but Marvel Comics, they've worked out a deal with Hulu to advertise their MODOK comic books at the end of their episodes for MODOK.
The comic advertisement on TV will say, who? cares?
I think so too. I saw the ad and it does not say get it at your local comic book shop and all of these other Marvel books. It specifically advertises MODOK.
What is MODOK?
Who cares exactly? It's
perfect.
that giant head that is it's a Marvel character. We don't fucking know Marvel. Who gives a shit? But it's this giant head. It's getting a stop motion TV show from Marvel.
Okay.
And the comics never sell well. No one ever comes in asking for MODOK shit. So I have no confidence in them advertising a book that is not going to sell well regardless because it's fucking MODOK. I have a Funko Pop still from our first initial run of MODOK. We ordered a single one. I don't know why. If I had seen that, I would have brought it down to 0, but we've not sold the fucking thing because no one likes MODOK.
I mean, maybe you'll sell the one now.
Great. I hope this show comes out so I can sell that one MODOK Funko and never reorder anything MODOK again.
Regardless, comic advertisements after TV episodes or before movies is a rarity. DC and Marvel have in the past offered to reimburse comic stores for their expense to advertise in their local theaters.
Not something we ever took them up on. There was a huge reason. I know it doesn't directly, they don't cover all of it, or there was a whole thing, but eventually both Marvel and DC said that not enough comic shops were taking advantage of this program, so they ended up getting rid of it altogether. So
I was about to say, what if you play one of their movies in a theater? Would they reimburse you then?
Well, if it were Disney, they'd try to sue because I don't know if you remember the Lion King fiasco that came out of that bullshit when I think it was a school that was trying to play it and they went after them. It's a fucking mess, but I'm curious how theaters are able to get around that too, because if you play a Disney movie, is there a list of companies you can't bring in a Blu-ray of? I'm curious because if schools can't do it, why could a theater make profit off of it?
Well, because they're not making profit off you viewing the movie. They're making profit off you renting the space, and whatever you choose to do with the space is what you choose to do with it.
But I think that's what the school was doing too, where they had a fundraiser and you could come out and see Lion King, and then the fundraiser would go towards the thing.
Well, right, but I don't know. I still feel that it's different. I just want it to be different so that I can watch Pirates of the Caribbean. Who are we kidding? Disney doesn't even care about Pirates of the Caribbean anymore.
No. So. And someone that I think is cooling off, I said last week especially, is Peach Momoko. As part of Marvel's new talent program, though, they have signed Peach onto an exclusive contract for multi-years. And that's it's just like art. I love Archer, and I know Matina was very popular for a while there, but these are artists that came out with a cover, were discovered by people like, this is a really good artist, and then those first couple of covers became really scarce and went up in value. And that's when the speculators came out and started pre-ordering every cover available, and they do that for a month or two, and then they drop off and say, I don't want any more Matina covers. And that's because it's not because they actually like the artwork, it's because they want to get the covers that are going to be worth money.
Right.
And this is exactly what happened to Peach Momoko, where she's already completely cooled off and people are no longer pre-ordering the Peach covers. She lasted even less than any of these bigger artists like Artgerm, but it worked out for her because she has now secured this contract with Marvel for exclusive years. They looked at her and went, this is an artist that's extremely hot right now. People want to buy her covers. We can sell a lot of comics by having her exclusive. We need to sign her on. And she said, yeah, I just sold all these thousands of fucking covers for Horizon Zero Dawn, so you might as well sign me on. I'm worth this much. And they paid her, and they didn't realize that it's mainly speculators that are getting this. So I know we own one of them. It was the Batman the Animated Series Harley Quinn Peach Momoko variant. And that's because I'm trying to get every animated series cover for that comic book. And it's a great cover, and she's great, but she's not an artist that I go out of my way to try to collect because I'm going to be honest, she's hit or miss with me personally.
Right.
And I do congratulate her for getting that massive contract on their Marvel, because they don't pay money, but if you can get a nice contract out of them, more power to you.
I want them later to be like, well, your covers aren't really selling now. And she's like, but you already signed me, okay, bye.
Yep, that's exactly what should happen.
We do have a quote here from Philip Sabak of Boom Studios, who told Bleeding Cool, quote, if Peach Momoko has signed a Marvel exclusive agreement, we're happy for the continued success of this talented rising star. Our previously announced multi-cover agreement won't be impacted, so Peach fans can continue to look forward to some exciting, beautiful covers on the upcoming Boom Studios titles, end quote.
That's pretty obvious to most people, but I think some people were asking, hey, does that mean all of these are canceled? Are we still not getting them? And they have to come out and say, no, that contract is done. It's signed.
Right.
So it goes to the end. Other contracts don't override that. That's not how these things work. And So we're still going to get those covers if you're worried at all about the Boom ones.
Yeah, but like if anybody's going to try to override a contract, it's going to be Marvel.
That's true. Yep.
Be like, nope, she's ours now. She's ours. Nope, nobody can use her. But we already have this contract. Nope, she's ours.
She is going to be coming out with some Power Rangers variants, so those turned out pretty nice. It's the Power Rangers transforming. You can see the character underneath, and then you can see the Ranger over, and it's got all these swooshing effects. It's actually pretty well done.
Power Rangers.
Whoa!
That's my best part, favorite part.
I like that we had a bunch of movie theater news today. I'm kind of bummed out, but that was the last bit of our news this week. But I do want to round out and kind of go back to the delays of the DC movies. Are there any of these that disappointed you the most as far as having to wait for that? Or were these all kind of expected?
All of them are disappointing. Like the state of the world right now is disappointing. I am happy that theaters are taking the precautions that they need to, that, you know, movie companies are saying, okay, we're going to push this back. I think it's smart on their move to wait until they can make the most money on these things, because I don't think theaters have sprung back as quickly as I hoped they would. Again, there's not a lot of things coming out, right? And so I don't disagree with any of it, but do I wish the world was normal now and then we could just be going out to a movie, you know, every 6 months to enjoy these new releases? Absolutely.
You said the whole year overall has been disappointed. To me, none of these delays affected me in a massively negative way. Not because I'm like, no, we should wait because of the virus. It's just I'm still getting Zack Snyder's Justice League, and that's like the thing that I'm most hyped about.
Right.
The Batman, I don't care if it never comes out, to be honest with you, because I've got the Zack Snyder's Justice League. Maybe the Flash, I guess a little bit, but we know so little about it. Like, yes, we know Ben Affleck's coming back, and that's amazing, and that's great. And if we get Jeffrey Dean Morgan, even better. Then my hype level will go off the chart. But Zack Snyder's Justice League is still coming out next year. That's not affected by this as far as we know. They just started doing the shoots this week. I think it was supposed to take place over 7 days, right? And they started those this week. So that's amazing. That's fantastic. And that's unaffected. So we have the 4-part and all of the great programming on HBO Max to hold us over until that next theatrical experience.
Yes. The superior streaming service, HBO Max.
100%. Do you think that Black Adam is going to get straight up canceled now that it has an unspecified date, or is it just
have they started filming at all?
No.
I don't think it will. I think there's still enough hype around it. I still think that they could do a very solid movie, right, with this character and this world that they're building. So no, I don't foresee it getting canceled. But yeah, you're going to push it back at this time. You're not going to start anything until you kind of know where everything's going to settle and land.
Let us know, Brocat Core, if there's one of these movies that you are most disappointed with on the delays, or if you are like me and perfectly happy with, as long as I have my Zack Snyder's Justice League and the Snyder Cut, then I am good to go. But that does wrap up our news for the week. Let's head into our thank yous for making this show possible. It is our Patreon shoutouts.
Our first shout out goes out to Matt on Twitter at Mr. Forklift. You can also find him at typingaboutmovies.com.
Matt retweeted from UCF, that is the University of Central Florida, their tweet of, quote, "It's okay to not be okay. It's also okay to give yourself much needed self-care," end quote. That is something that I think more and more people should read and maybe reflect on themselves. I know it's very hard for me to ask for help or to seek that out, and I'm working at that. So I think that's something that that's the way in which I related to at least UCF's tweet here.
Yeah, I think it's really hard, especially for moms, right? Working moms, stay-at-home moms, anybody who cares for other people. It is very hard and sometimes makes you feel guilty to take that time for yourself, but it is very important. One of the best quotes I have read, I'm trying to remember it exactly, is something along the lines of, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? If you don't fill yourself up, how are you going to help others? So very important to try and remember in this time, find that self-care any way that you can, but also UCF sucks.
Wow. She doesn't mean that, Matt. Matt's a huge fan of UCF.
Well, I'm proud of him, but they were not great to me.
Next shout out goes out to Jared on Twitter at Spoon Sandwich.
Jared has been sharing fire memes, including, you're going to just...
This one's Snape, who put out, The quote, just flick your wand, say Accio, and whatever you desire will come to you. And Harry Potter immediately says, Accio, my parents. 2 corpses come flying through the window. Harry yells. Snape laughs his fucking ass off. I love that shit for many reasons. Snape would then cry, though. He would weep at seeing Lily's dead body. Or he'd hug it, and then Avada Kedavra James Potter's body. And
again.
See what happens. He did it the first time.
Kill him twice.
I hope so. He should have been. I'd be fine with him killing one of Harry's parents. Just James Potter. That's the only one. He should have been there to stop Voldemort and just say, we'll kill James, but we'll let her live.
Love how in the movie, like, James dies doing nothing.
Did we ever see him die in the fucking
we
movies?
Just see him dead. We don't see him die. He does
loser.
Nothing. Like, at least Harry's mom is trying to save him.
Yes.
James just is pathetic. Dies. Somebody who's read the books is like, that's not how it happened.
Right. Exactly.
I'm like, no, that's exactly how I saw the movies.
It's like, that's how it happened. That's when you got to act ignorant. Like, bullshit. What the fucking books? Whatever. James is a piece of shit. Next shout out goes out to Scott on Twitter at Lazy Gaming Guys and at Pandanime.
Scott streamed Mafia Definitive Edition on their YouTube channel.
And that episode is also going up on their Apple Podcasts feed. So if you search Lazy Gaming Guys on your favorite podcatcher, you can listen along as Scott played Mafia Definitive Edition.
Up next, we have Elizabeth at EP Lifts.
Elizabeth tweeted out, quote, I have a 9-year-old boy in my class that loves Superman, but doesn't have any Superman comics. Any suggestions of what comic to start with? End quote.
Not Red Sun.
You know what? Every child should own
9. Are you going to show our 9-year-old
yes.
when he's not? Okay.
Not the movie, just the comic.
Okay.
No, I suggested to her the anything by R. Baltazar and Franco. The Superman Family Adventures are amazing, but I enjoyed them even at my age. But if that's too young for a 9-year-old, I also suggested the Peter J. Tomasi Superman run from DC Rebirth, where it's Jonathan Kent and Lois and Superman, and it's like a family story, but it's also Jonathan kind of, it's the opposite of the Batman and Robin New 52 run, where in that book, it's Batman and Robin kind of learning how to be father and son because Batman's never been a dad and Damian's never had a father. He's had his grandfather, had a mom, but he hasn't had, that father figure in his life.
Mom.
And I'm going to ignore that. And so they're kind of growing together. But in the Superman one, it's a celebration of this family. It's a celebration of Superman, who he is. There's this amazing arc where he takes them throughout the country and they see all of these American landmarks. And it's a fantastic run. I don't think the content is at all too gruesome or anything. I think it'd be a perfectly fine book to put in even the all ages section. There's also the arc in which Lois puts on the Batman Hellbat armor.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that shit. Really good stuff.
I think that one's really great too because, yes, he loves Superman, but Jonathan Kent is a young Superman, essentially, right? A 9-year-old Superman. And so very much something that I think he could relate to and really develop his love for these characters.
People pointed out that Jonathan is so lucky in that not only does he have a Kryptonian who can teach him about his powers and show him, but he also has someone who was raised by John Kent, Pa Kent, who is passing on those lessons to him. So he's kind of getting the best of both worlds in that way.
I mean, also his mom's a badass, so let's not forget Lois. Thanks.
Lois Lane asking the questions, asking the right things, going out there, getting this shit done. Her and Clark almost being right. I love how Clark cheats his way to the story when Lois didn't know it was him, and he would just use the super speed, use the super hearing, find the information, and she'd be like, how the fuck does he get all this ahead of me? That's been brought up morally, like, is that right for Superman to be doing these things? And it's like, that's me again. That's fine. Who gives a shit? It's funny. Final shout out this week goes out to Nick F. on Twitter at Jersey Whisperer. You can also find them on Instagram at buds_bros_and_superheroes.
Nick was gifted Tales of the Teen Titans number 44 from his wife, the issue where Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing, and also the origin of Deathstroke.
He is a huge Nightwing fan. I forget what's the first appearance of Nightwing. I think it was in one of the Action Comics books. It's a Kryptonian that dresses up as Nightwing, and that's where he gets his inspiration from. I feel like we I don't know if we've ever had that book, the first appearance of Nightwing, but that'd be another one that even if it's not Dick Grayson Nightwing, it's still the one that he was inspired by. As if I were a Nightwing fan, I'd want to try to get that one too. But the key book, the big one, is this Teen Titans title, where we've had this one before a couple years ago, and I flipped through it. That's the one where he comes down the stairs and he's like, "Hey, I'm Nightwing now," and he's got the disco suit. Not at all the traditional Nightwing suit that we know of now, but I think it's still a landmark for the character. I still think that it's something that if you're into Nightwing and if you're into Dick Grayson at all, it's a must-have.
So thank you so much, Nick F., Elizabeth, Scott, Jared, and Matt for your Patreon support.
If you too would like your shout out, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimebroke. And for just $1 a month equals out to 25 cents an episode, you too can get your shout out and you help support the podcast.
All of that money goes right back into the show, into the upload costs, and all the other things that go on behind the scenes that help make this show possible.
Including the cost of our The Reasons I'm Broke app,
Ooh.
which is available on the Apple Play Store and the Google Play Store. If you just search The Reasons I'm Broke, you will find the app on there. And one bonus that each episode has is there's a phone wallpaper that pertains to that week's episode on each episode's download. So that's something neat that you can check out. Even if you have your favorite podcatcher, you can still download the app and check out the wallpapers.
Are any of the wallpapers my face?
Not yet. No.
Come on. You had one job, Danny.
We always like to remind the Brokehead Core that the podcast will always be free. The best you can do is tell a friend about the podcast. Word of mouth is the biggest indicator, the biggest thing that helps other people find the show.
You could also just take their phone and download it. I mean, whatever you're feeling like. But that does wrap up our news and our Patreon shoutouts for the week. We can now move into our comic book highlight, again, as chosen by you on Twitter. We have Sonic the Hedgehog Bad Guys #1.
This is an all-new miniseries written by Ian Flynn, who moved from the Sonic the Hedgehog main title to this miniseries. Art by Jack Lawrence and colors by Leonardo Ito, which reminded me of the way he says his name.
Stop!
Holy shit. What if this is him in the future and he just hacked time? And this is his clue telling us.
Color.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Whenever you ask Leo what his name is, because he can't pronounce all his letters yet, he goes, Dito. So, Leonardo Ito. Oh, my goodness. I have chills.
You're like, this is the best part of this book. I love the colors.
The colors are perfect.
He tries so hard, Leonardo. Now I want to meet this artist at like a con and like carry him like dad style. Like he's like, "Sir, what are you doing?"
And I want him to like be like, "No." And then as you're walking away, he's like, "Thanks, Dad." And you're like, "Oh."
And and I look back and he's gone.
This is Tenet, that movie we just watched. He's coming back in time now.
Yeah. So Sonic Bad Guys #1, voted on by the Brokehead Core. We put up the poll every single Wednesday morning, along with a picture of our new comic book day haul. So that's another way you can influence the reviews. And you all voted for Bad Guys #1. What would you think of this first issue? Wow.
Listen. These Sonic books are not for me. I can see how if you're a big fan of the franchise, you enjoy these characters, all these different things, you would really enjoy it. What is in this book is not anything that I am attracted to or catches my attention. So, I mean, maybe if they made Darkwing Duck a little more flamboyant and like he was really going after Eggman, sure, but no, there's just nothing in this. I read it, but there's nothing in this book for me.
You talk about flamboyancy. If you look in the art section in the back of the book, there's one picture there of him, and he has like this little silky scarf, and I'm like, this is how fans see him, I guess, including you.
Right? Well, I mean, it's because he had that one issue that we read a while ago where he was like, "Ooh, Eggman."
I definitely ship him and Eggman. I don't think Eggman has those feelings towards him
towards anything,
but I think he wants to take over the world for him.
Yeah,
and he even kind of says it in the issue. He says, I'm going to have to fight Eggman and everyone else to get there, but I'm going to take over the world. I'm going to do what he couldn't do. But I think when and if he does, he's going to gift it all to Eggman.
Of course.
And that's where he'll, really confess his love for him.
This was definitely a starter issue, right? It sets the groundwork for what's going to happen of these team of bad guys that are all working together. It's your standard break them all out of jail, which seemed way too easy, but okay, it's fine.
I did like how each bad guy, though, was highlighted. Like each of their powers were given their own spotlight. You can see how they do, in a way, fit pretty well together. You've got your spy, you've got your two, you've got your muscle in there, you've got your leader, maybe two leaders now we're seeing, but each one knows that they're tricking the other. So, but it still works out because they have the same interest. I think you're right. It's great for kids, but I also think if you've been reading the main Sonic series, this does take place exactly right after the Metal Virus saga. So I don't think you have to read that arc to get this, but that's just where it starts, where everyone's in jail, the bad guys are put away, and here's them breaking out. And I don't know what they're going to do now. I don't know what the plot is going to be after this. They didn't really set up like some kind of overarching plan that they need to get through now, and this is going to be their goal. But as you said, it was a simple breakout story, and it didn't need to be anything more than that. I think it set out what it needed to do.
I don't think you need to read the Metal Saga prior to. I mean, just have enough of the understanding that there was a virus that was taking over people and making them zombies, and now we stopped it, we moved past it, and now here's where we are. So again, if you like Sonic, if you like these characters, if you really like bad guy team-ups, if you're younger, whatever, I don't think that this is a bad book by any means. There's just nothing in it for me. There's no romance. Where's the romance? Where's the tension? Where's the crying that I'm supposed to do?
Do you think that we'll get any kind of major fight between the heroes and the bad guys, or is this just going to be them kind of, the arc will just end of them going, okay, well, one day we'll get to defeating Sonic and his friends and taking over the world?
I really don't know. I think it could go either way. I think if, and maybe they already have this all planned out, but it may just come down to how successful this book is. If you see a bunch of people are on board with it, you're not going to lock all these guys in jail again. You're going to let them keep on going and causing problems. I definitely think we're probably going to get to the end where they take down Eggman and Darkwing Duck is going to go back to him, and like Demon McDemon Head is going to
Chernabog?
Chernabog is going to be angry. You know who he reminds me of is
Hellboy.
the guy from Monsters Inc. Monsters University.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He reminds me of
exactly
him.
like
Yes.
him.
So, I think what's probably going to happen is they're going to get defeated by Dr. Eggman, or Darkwing Duck's, like I said, going to join back up with him. And these other villains are going to get defeated. But I don't know if they're going to end up back in jail or just running away. They're all going to separate because they don't do teams anymore.
We're going to have to read to find out what happens, but
you can read to find out what happens.
Well, unless they vote for number 2, we'll find out what happens in these polls. But huge thanks to the Brocat Corps for voting in. If you're on our Discord too, you get that alert of when the polls go up. But let's head into our final portion of today's episode. It is what Palpa, Kelly, and I have been doing this week, the Brocat Block.
So you have a note on here because no episode would be complete without talking about the Snyder Cut in some capacity.
I wanted to make sure to mention that the latest Snyder Cut Roundtables, number 21, did go up on their official YouTube channel, and this is where they released their discussion of the All the Gods t-shirt design from last year, which by chance I'm wearing today, and they broke down this design,
magically.
They talked about it,
Yeah.
and the reason I put this on the notes is I wanted to get your take on it now that we're, almost a year later since, I'm pretty sure it's over a year later that this design came out, and we kind of know what the plot would have been for Zack Snyder's 5-film arc. And I don't know if he's answered any more questions about it, especially now that it looks like we're going to get more Justice League movies after the Snyder Cut. Do you still think that this is the plan moving forward? Do you think that it's at all going to change? Is there any part of the 5-film arc, like Batman's death at the end of it all, that you absolutely cannot wait to see?
I just want to see all of it. Do I see maybe a few things? You know what? And I don't even know, because I want to believe that he built this shirt, this design, based off what he really wanted to happen. And now he's in a place where he doesn't have the studio telling him, oh, no, that can't happen.
Right.
So I don't know that that's going to change. And maybe it does. And maybe he went in and made this plan with okay, this is what I can get by with it, or this is maybe what I can get by with the studio. And yes, it was probably a little far out there and they brought it back a little bit, but maybe he's at the point now where HBO is saying, do whatever you want. He's saying, how much further can I go, right? What more would I have told? What more would I have planned if I could have?
I was listening to one of the latest John Word Balloon episodes, And he had Tom King on there, who is helping write the script of the New Gods film.
Yeah.
Which is separate from Snyder's universe. And he did mention that the new regime at Warner Brothers and at HBO, I don't know, HBO Max, I don't know if that's coming out on there, but at Warner Brothers has been very supportive of them and have basically said, do what you want. Make the best movie that you can, respect the characters, but do whatever you'd like. And he says that was very encouraging. So if that's true, then it sounds like, at least it is on HBO Max's part, then Zach's going to be able to make the films that he wants, or the episodes that he wants, or the arc that he wants.
Which I think we've talked about it before is really the best case scenario out of all of this. Like, once again, it sucks that it had to turn out the way that it did. But for us to get to this point, what better things can you ask for? I really don't think that there is.
So there's a huge future plot points that I'm just going to say it, that we're going to see. Like the anti-life equation controlled Superman, which we got a hint of in Batman v Superman. We're going to get the Knightmare world. We're going to see at the very end of it, Bruce Wayne's death as he defeats Darkseid, very much like he did in Crisis. And now we're also don't forget the Darkseid killing Lois Lane and Wonder Woman dying, trying to protect her. And that's what sets off all of this anti-life equation with Superman, and then Flash fixing the timeline in that Knightmare world. Is there any part of that you're like, that's the part I can't wait to see?
All of it.
I want to drown in the Knightmare world. I can't wait to see a full movie of that. I want to see Deathstroke, if he's in that world, working with Batman in the Justice League.
I don't care about Deathstroke. That's the one piece I don't care about.
There's the rumors that Joker teams up with Batman as well in this post-apocalyptic world. So there's so much here that the Knightmare sequence, the Knightmare world by itself could give us.
I will tell you, I am excited for the journey. I think most of all, like, yes, it's going to be very difficult to watch those parts and to be like, oh, fuck, how are they going to come out of this one? But I think the thing that I have enjoyed most about these superhero movies is, and I always go back to the Wonder Woman No Man's Land scene, right? I would really love to, and don't doubt there will be a scene like that where all of them come together and they're like, okay, we're here. Like, we have to put everything forth, be the best that we can be to destroy this. And you get that very satisfying moment of, okay, I've been through this entire journey, this nightmare sequence when everything was the lowest it can be. And now I'm going to have this amazing soundtrack with these amazing moments and this awesome payoff where all that angst that I just went through was worth it to get to this point.
And even doing the characters justice in next year's Snyder Cut, they even said in this roundtable is that the reshoots, and you can tell when you're watching Justice League where the reshoots are, where they made these characters completely incompetent, is that in his version, his take on these characters is that while they're not working together at the beginning of it, each one is a very strong, very solid, independent superhero.
Right.
And that when you get them together, you're able to drive off these demons from another planet. You're able to defeat, eventually, Darkseid. And instead of making these guys bumbling comedic idiots, which they felt that audiences wanted because they love the MCU, and that's what you get on that side. But they forgot that that's a whole different audience than what was supporting you up to this point, and it started with Man of Steel. So seeing these characters done right in that cut next year, I think is going to be amazing. And you were mentioning seeing them go through these trials. I think seeing their strength through that, as you were saying, and seeing them properly is going to be an amazing payoff.
Very, very, very excited. I'm hoping that theaters are still renting when this comes out so we can take it.
But I really wanted to highlight that. Make sure to subscribe to the official RT Snyder Cut is what it's under. Release the Snyder Cut. If you search that, it'll probably pop right up. But otherwise, RT Snyder Cut.
It stands for release the? I thought it was for retweet.
Retweet Snyder Cut.
I thought it was retweet Snyder Cut. Oh my God. What's wrong with me?
It's probably been all of that potty training that's been going on.
Oh my God,
you have
so
on
much.
Here.
Yes. So Leo, our little man, celebrated a birthday this week. So I took off some days and I was like, it's time. No more diapers. We were down to 3 diapers. I'm like, I'm not buying another fucking box of diapers. We're going to potty train this kid. And of course, he was showing us signs like as soon as he peed, he would let us know and he'd be able to hold it for hours.
Or all night sometimes, yeah.
Right. He wakes up dry a lot of the times. I would say probably 5 out of the 7 days he'll wake up dry, which is really great. So all signs pointing to, okay, time to potty train. So I got my little book and I read it and I learned all about potty training and what to look for. 24 hours. He was done. He got it. Peed all over the floor for 24 hours. And then now he's told us every single time when he needs to go potty.
Same with pooping, which was a tougher one, I think.
Oh my goodness.
But I think it happened twice where I had the book in front of him and he went through it, he read it, and for some reason that was enough for him to relax and go. Just get it done. And now that he understands the concept, it's gone, I think, relatively easy. I think if we were to compare it to maybe other kids of his age,
right?
And it's because this is the first time we're going through it, so I don't know how difficult or easy it is overall, but I feel like it hasn't been terrible.
Well, that's because you were working the 24 hours of potty training.
Yeah, but I've heard that even after the 3 days, some kids still don't really understand the concept or refuse to do it. And every time I would bring it up with customers or friends, they would tell me constantly, listen, boys are a lot tougher. It's going to be tough. They don't want to do it. They fight against it. And I haven't really seen that from him.
He hasn't. And I think we have some really great motivation tactics. So he gets M&Ms every time he goes. He gets to put a Paw Patrol sticker up on his little sticker board in the bathroom. So those things are very exciting for him. I also don't discredit that he receives a lot of motivation from hearing that we're proud of him or from I can't even think of the word, but when, we're very excited for him and the things that he does, that's a great motivator for him. So we've really made it over the top every time he goes. It's so exciting, and he even now, because he'll tell me I have to go, I'll set him on the potty and then I'll sit in the bathroom on the floor because sometimes, it takes a little while. And as soon as he hears it, he'll look at me and smile and he'll clap for himself like, I did it. And so he's very excited for those things too. So he has really made it easy all around for all of us. And so he's at grandma's right now. It'll be interesting to see how he did over there because it's the first time, I understand his cues very well, but it's, the first time over there without one of us there.
Pat yourself on the back, Leo.
Oh, I thought me.
You as well, but
Thanks.
Also future Leo, who may or may not be coloring Sonic
Leonardo
comic books Ito.
Right now.
What's going on here with the drive-thru?
Oh, yeah. I didn't tell you the story because I just remembered it. And it was pretty cool. I felt awesome. So I walked up to my drive-thru window. I was taking over for somebody the other day. I was like, hey, you, go on your 10-minute break, whatever. And they're like, okay, bye. And so I slide into the window, and the person in the window has a mask on that's Jay and Silent Bob.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, man, how cool, this... and he's like, yeah, I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan and watch everything. And I was like, oh, do you watch Comic Book Men? And he's like, I do. And I was like, I was on an episode. And he's like, no, what went on? Like, what happened? What'd you sell? And so I told him and he goes, I watched that episode last night. And I was like, oh, shit. He's like, I know exactly who you are. I'm like, here I am.
Do you remember the episode name?
I don't. Cowboy something.
Suburban Cowboys.
There you go. Perfect. I just told him what I sold. And he was like, yeah, me and my daughter, we love that show. We watched it. I got to meet Kevin Smith once. And I'm like, oh, man, that's so cool.
Did you tell him about being in the store, being at the secret stash?
I mean, as much as I could. His drinks were ready. And I'm like, here you go. Get out of my drive-thru. I got more people to serve.
Give me an excellent on that survey.
Right. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. Like, I had forgotten that I was even on that show so long ago.
That pops up every now and again on Facebook Memories. I should probably tweet it out more often just in case, because not everyone's been listening since the beginning. Right. And yeah, the episode's called Suburban Cowboys. I think it was season 4. I don't remember. But if you go on iTunes or Apple, whatever it's called now, and you search under TV, it'll be Suburban Cowboys. That's the episode. And that's where you have Secret Wars, the first appearance of Black Suit Spidey.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that was my week. Otherwise, it was a almost record-breaking week at my store as far as sales. So looking into the holidays, right, really thinking about what that means, all the millions of people I have to hire. I have to hire like 5 people. It feels like a lot. So yeah, I finished another semester of school. I got one more to go. Oh, I told Mom that I'm in school finally. Surprise,
there you go.
Mom. She cried. It was great.
Nice. And you graduate this year, December?
December 4th.
That's exciting.
December 4th is the deadline for finals, so I'll turn it in. I mean, it may even be before December 4th, but it'll be so great to have that off my plate. I mean, I was up till 11 last night trying to get an assignment done, so being able to, I don't know what I'm going to do with my time. I'm going to I'll read more books. Oh, I did start a new book, right? I've been waiting 9 months for this book to come out, and everybody's happy right now in the point that I'm in, but there's still an hour left, and I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm sweating. I'm so nervous.
They're going to pull a J.K. Rowling, kill everyone.
Probably. I mean, they've already killed. It's about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and they come to Earth, and they all fall in love with human women. I don't know. Listen, I'm not complaining. They're great.
On my end, I'm almost done with Raised by Wolves on HBO Max, exclusive to HBO Max. I've been really enjoying that. I'm thinking of diving into the companion podcast. The only thing I was worried about, the reason I haven't subbed to it, is because I can't watch these episodes every week as they release. So I'd be afraid of the new episode of the show, the podcast, spoiling what happened. So I'm waiting till I finish the show completely. Then I'll go back and listen to the podcast. And I hope they do more companion podcasts for these shows. I've been liking Raised by Wolves. It's been getting insane. The characters have changed so much since that first episode, which is a good thing. But some of the characters I like, I'm now like, I don't really like them anymore. So I'm going to see if any changes happen by the final episode where, it gets me hooked back on that character. And I think that's what a show is anyway. It gets you up and down, back and forth so that you keep watching every single week or every single episode. Been liking that and been playing more MLB The Show, finally in AAA with the Barons.
Yeah.
And eventually I'll be with the White Sox.
Cool.
And then I can be the full offense for the team. As soon as I get on the White Sox, then I can be super arrogant on there. Be like, you haven't scored anything. The only score here is my home run, 1-0, and we fucking won this game. And then the coach can sit me down for my arrogance. You're not playing the next 3 games. And then we'll lose those 3 games because they didn't play me. And then I can be extra arrogant at them. And they'll be like, man, he's such an asshole, but he's such a good player. And he gets things done. And the fans love him, even though he's a dick to them too. And he's getting games, and that I'm not there yet. But I will be. My stats are still really low, but I'm getting doubles, I'm getting singles, a home run here and there. And right now it's easy because it's AAA, but once I get to the majors, I expect to go up against these incredible pitchers and incredible players, and I'm having so much fun with it.
That's awesome. I'm glad it seems like a game that's kind of easy for you to pick up and play for a few minutes and then put down also.
The games go by really quick, especially now that I'm playing shortstop. So I'm really just playing those plays and the batting. And it's not like when I was a pitcher where I'd pitch almost the whole game, especially as I got better.
Right.
Then I'd pitch complete games. And I think I pitched 1 or 2 perfect games, which was really exciting. But it's cool to go back to do something different and do it on the offense.
Of course.
I also picked up the Udon series of Street Fighter Classics. They've compiled all of these old comics into these trade paperbacks, and I think there's 5 volumes total of the classics. I reordered all of them through my store and bought them. I've been reading them. I finished the first volume. I'm in the second one, and it's just memory lane. Back to these old Alvin Lee pages and all these amazing artists that Udon still has. They have these incredible collections. I also bought the Darkstalkers complete collection, which is all of those comics in an oversized format. They never did more than that except for the Street Fighter versus Darkstalkers series, which was all right. But I don't think the Darkstalkers book sold too well, just like the video game recently when they did the collection did well either. So that's all right. I still have these reprints and I can read them. So I've been kind of going on that. I dove deep into those old books.
That's awesome.
But unless you have anything else, I think that does it for today's episode. A little bit shorter this week.
Yeah, that's all I have.
As always, make sure to follow us on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere you can find us. For a link on all of those, just head on over to thereasonsimbroke.com.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Emperor Papa Kelli.
And I am non-athlete Daniel.
And Broke at Core.
All will be well. When we had covered what's new on HBO Max a few weeks ago, I had talked about how Catwoman is on there.
Oh, boy.
It's on the list. I've been playing it at the store.
Oh, why?
It's based on a character. It's fine.
Okay.
Only for, and I got the reaction I wanted of someone going, oh, man, you guys must be masochists. And that's when I go, it's not any worse than most of the MCU.
Of course,
Yes.
that's the reason you would do it. Oh, my goodness.
I'm not lying, though. It's absolutely true. I would watch Catwoman as many times as Actually, I'd watch Catwoman more than I would watch The Avengers.
Okay.
I would watch Catwoman more than I would watch Thor Ragnarok. That movie is in continuity with Batman Returns. I don't know if you knew
No,
that.
stop, really?
It takes place in the Tim Burton universe.
Oh,
and you
my
know,
God.
You know how that's confirmed?
How?
When she goes to that psychic's house where she teaches her about the cat powers and she has all these newspaper clippings of previous cat women, and one of them is literally a picture of Michelle Pfeiffer in the Catwoman costume. And there you go, same fucking world.
Well, maybe she gets them from alternate universes.
Well, she could
She's
be
a psychic. You don't know.
I guess she could be a multiverse
There you
woman.
go.
She brings these in.
I'm gonna go with that. What
reaches into these other universes
what
just
would
for
you
pictures.
do if Halle Berry showed up in that Flash film?
Oh, that'd be fucking... You know what? That'd be kind of cool. I'm not going to lie.
Stop.
That'd be kind of cool.
I'm not for this. Why did I say this? I take it back. I take it back.
She's addicted to tuna cans,
Yes.
just like in the movie, eating those because she's a Catwoman. Ooh, scratching up couches. We also noticed that the love interest in that Catwoman movie was the same love interest as in Miss Congeniality. Those are the only two movies I've seen the guy in. I don't know why he's a cop in both also, if he was just typecast in those things, but all right. Have you seen him in anything? Do you know who I'm talking about?
I do know who you're talking about. I have not seen him in anything else either. I'm sure he's been in other things, just not things that we watch.
Do you think Catwoman killed his career?
Maybe. So are you saying that Miss Congeniality is now also continuity with the Timverse?
We can pretend it's the same cop. We could. Yeah, same universe. There's a lot of people that pretend that Carl from Family Matters, he basically plays the same character in Die Hard. So they say it's just Carl on duty, figuring out Die Hard, figuring out those terrorists, and then going back home to Urkel. All the same universe.
I love this.